Images make the past seem more accessible, giving concrete shape to a world that sometimes seems intangible. Today, I want to share with you some spectacular historical images I colorized. Please feel free to tell me your opinion on the comment section. Stray cats playing at the Rock Palace Festival in Germany, 1983. This photo stood out to me because these kids are rocking out so hard, their energy is infectious. You probably have never heard of the Stray Cats before. Neither did I, but they sure can rock. They are an American rockabilly band that started in 1979. One of their most famous songs was called Stray Cat Strut. The man in the middle is actually a fan who managed to get on stage, and he is jumping in midair while he rocks out to the song. There have been several breakups and reunions of the Stray Cats over the years, with one of their most recent performances happening in 2019. Prince being chased by some fans, 1994. A photograph like this would probably never happen again, for several reasons. First of all, most famous musicians walk around with a bodyguard, especially when they are at a concert venue. In today's world, these girls would probably be tackled to the ground for trying to run after Prince. In the photo, Prince is smiling. He seems to be enjoying the attention from the pretty girls. Nowadays, we understand the psychology of parasocial relationships. Fans can watch and learn so much about a celebrity through the internet, but it's a very one-sided thing. The celebrity has no idea who this person is. Most celebrities find this to be creepy, but it's a well-known aspect of their job that they must deal with. Kids remote learning over the radio during the polio outbreak, 1937. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to get used to long-distance learning. Modern kids were taken out of the classroom and kept at home so they could do their lessons over Zoom. But this was not the first time in history where something like that happened. Back in 1937, during the polio outbreak, many kids did remote learning by listening to a teacher over the radio in Chicago. After the city had recorded 109 cases of polio in August of 1937, the city decided to ban children from going on the playground or showing up in public spaces, like a movie theater. They delayed the opening of school for 3 weeks, and made them do radio schooling instead. 7 different radio stations offered to help with the programming, so that different grades could have their own stations. Albert Einstein teaching at Lincoln, the United States' first historical black university, 1946. Considered to be one of the greatest geniuses of all time, Albert Einstein spent some of his time teaching at Lincoln University. This was the first black university in the United States. During his lifetime, Einstein advocated for civil rights long before it became popular in the 1960s. While at Princeton University in the 1940s, he noticed that black students were treated the same way that Jews were treated in Germany. As a Jewish man himself, he could see that parallel of racism happening across nations. He said, "The separation of the races is not a disease of the colored people, but a disease of the white people." Young man taking a selfie, using a piece of wood to activate the shutter, 1957. A lot of vintage and antique photographs include portraits of people taken by a photographer that is standing several feet away from the subject. But selfies have been around long before cell phones existed. In this image, taken in 1957, we see a young man squatting down with a piece of wood to hit the shutter of a camera, so that he could have a picture of himself. Many early selfies were created with the help of a mirror, which is still a popular method today for a standard outfit of the day picture. When I first saw this picture, my first thought was that it was a selfie stick, but obviously, those did not exist back then. Hey, a plank of wood still worked out pretty well as a selfie stick, anyway. Marilyn Monroe visiting injured troops in 1954. Actress Marilyn Monroe famously took time out of her honeymoon with Joe DiMaggio in 1954 to visit the troops in Korea. From 1950 to 1953, the United States was in the midst of the Korean War. But even after the war was over, there were still plenty of U.S. troops stationed in Seoul as part of the UN occupation force. Originally, Joe and Marilyn were headed to Japan for their honeymoon. But when they ran into Major General Charles W. Christenberry on the flight, they were invited to stop by Korea to entertain the troops. While Joe DiMaggio was busy in Japan preparing for his baseball career, Marilyn went on her own to say thank you to the troops. In this photograph, she is talking to a man who had broken his back and needed to heal while facing down. No one is born racist, 1992. On Reddit, someone titled this photograph, "No one is born a racist." We see a tiny baby wearing a KKK uniform that was clearly picked out by their parents. They approach a black state trooper, curious to touch his riot shield. This photo went viral on the internet, with few people knowing the context. Turns out this photo was taken by Todd Robertson in Gainesville, Georgia. The police officer in the picture is State Trooper Alan Campbell. He recalled that day in an interview, saying, "I didn't even see the kid. I was just looking down to see what was bumping on my shield. And when I looked down, there was this little kid in a Klan uniform. He saw his reflection in the riot shield. He was tracing his outline." No one is born racist, 1992. On Reddit, someone titled this photograph, "No one is born a racist." We see a tiny baby wearing a KKK uniform that was clearly picked out by their parents. They approach a black state trooper, curious to touch his riot shield. This photo went viral on the internet, with few people knowing the context. Turns out this photo was taken by Todd Robertson in Gainesville, Georgia. The police officer in the picture is State Trooper Alan Campbell. He recalled that day in an interview, saying, "I didn't even see the kid. I was just looking down to see what was bumping on my shield. And when I looked down, there was this little kid in a Klan uniform. He saw his reflection in the riot shield. He was tracing his outline." Soviet children in sleeping bags on the way to their dorm room, 1930. This headline seems like it should be a joke. But it's just a very true story of how in Soviet Russia, they believed that it was good for children's health to have them take naps outside in the freezing cold. There are numerous photos of kids laying on cots out in the snow wearing these little sleeping bags to make sure they don't get frostbite. Russian studies proved that fresh air was good for children, so they made sure to let kids play outside as much as possible, as well as take their naps outdoors. It was also believed that the fresh air could prevent the spread of epidemics, so classrooms were aired out twice a day too, even in the winter months. In this photograph, you can see kids walking back to their classroom in their full-body sleeping bags. The winner of Miss American Vampire, 1970. We have all heard of Miss America. But what about Miss American Vampire? The text on the image says, Christina Domenecki, part-time model from Bellevue, NJ, has been selected for the first regional winner in MGM's nationwide search for Miss American Vampire to reign in the House of Dark Shadows film based on the daytime serial. So basically, this contest only ran for 1 year, in 1970, because it was a marketing stunt to promote the movie. After winning the contest, she was able to earn a cameo on the Dark Shadows TV series. This win is often contested, saying that actress Sachin Littlefeather actually won Miss American Vampire when the finals took place in Los Angeles. Obviously, Christina Domenecki was on the East Coast when she was crowned in New York, and she was the one who ended up on TV.